8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, June 24th. Thanks for joining us on ARC Rochester. I'm Abby Ferdman.
And I'm Dan Schrack. We have a jam-packed 2 hours to get through, so let's run down what we have brewing for you this morning.
Coming up, a closer look at a hellish tattoo that's getting a lot of attention online. That and more coming up in today's Trending Now.
That was very intriguing. Good tease. And then we're breaking out the vino as we look ahead to an upcoming wine tasting event that spotlights African-American winemakers.
And then later on, continuing our coverage for primary election day, we'll have more from the 3 Democrats vying for a spot on that November ballot.
But before all of that, we do want to get a check of some of our top headlines this morning. Stephanie Joseph at the live desk with your Tuesday morning news break.
Well, good morning there, guys. We do begin with another day of oppressive temperatures, officially making this a heat wave. With the heat index pushing dangerous levels, several schools are sending students home early or closing altogether. This as many districts wrap up their last week of the academic year. We've posted a full list of those changes on our website, 13wham.com. The future of a tentative ceasefire between Israel and Iran remains unclear. President Trump telling reporters this morning that both parties violated the agreement and that he's not happy with Israel. Israel's defense minister first accused Iran of violating the deal by launching missiles shortly after the ceasefire went into effect. Iran denies that. Trump claims the ceasefire is still in effect. Neighbors in Ontario County are rallying behind a fire district facing possible dissolution. At a packed town board meeting, district representatives pushed back against the plan to dismantle the Fishers Fire District, citing long-term financial concerns. If the district is dissolved, the community would solely rely on volunteers. Firefighters warn every second matters in an emergency. A public hearing is scheduled for July, with a final decision possibly coming by the end of August. A massive drug trafficking ring spanning across upstate New York has been taken down. After an 18-month investigation, authorities arrested more than a dozen people accused of flooding communities with cocaine, marijuana, and other drugs. Among the staggering haul, a half-ton of cocaine and 700 pounds of marijuana, all seized before reaching the streets. Officials say the operation stretched across multiple counties and was backed by a network of dealers and distributors. The takedown involved state police, the FBI, the DEA, and dozens of local agencies all working together to dismantle what they call a major pipeline of poison. For all these top stories and any updates, be sure to visit 13wham.com. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thank you. All right, speaking of the weather, like Steph just said, it is hazy, hot, and humid. We're on day 3 of that summer heat wave. And like I was saying, my hair is growing by the minute in this studio. It's like crazy humid.
It's very humid in this studio. The air is wet in here. Meteorologist Mark McLean in the Weather Center this morning with just how long this is going to last, both outdoors and then after that, Mark, you can go and adjust the thermostat, get that AC pumping.
Right. We could use a touch of it in here, but
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of folks could. This is day 3 officially of 90-degree heat, so that heat advisory that we have in place, that's going to continue until 6 o'clock this evening. We've got the combination of temperature and humidity actually making it feel like it's in the low 100s late this afternoon into early this evening. So whatever routine that you used the last couple of days, you're going to want to use that routine again for today. Drink lots of water. Make sure the pets are hydrated, too, if you're heading out for any length of time. And, the plants, too. I know it's a lesser concern, but they're going to dry out pretty quick this afternoon. A little bit of a breeze out of the west-southwest. We'll see that temperature move into the low to mid-90s. And then later tonight, we'll drop back to the low 70s. It looks like most areas will stay dry today, although there is the slightest chance of a shower, especially north of Rochester. Temperature in the low 70s overnight tonight, another warm and humid night. But this tropical air starts to fade. That's what we're going to be talking about coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to go from the 90s back to the upper 70s by Thursday, and we'll see just how long this humid air mass stays out of town coming up in just minutes.
Mark, I have a question for you. With the potential for a thunderstorm later on tonight, are we just going to, you know how sometimes those storms have a cooling effect?
Yeah.
Is this just going to add to that humidity?
It would. Until that air mass gets a real change, until that cold front moves through the area, it would just increase the atmospheric moisture content and it would just feel absolutely sticky, soupy, whatever word you want to throw at it here.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, let's go off the top and start with some of the topics that have piqued our interest this morning. I'll kick things off this Tuesday. For my off the top, this one's a fun head turner. A Long Island high school is literally seeing double. 15 sets of twins. That's 30 students all graduating together from Plainview Old Bethpage JFK High School. Out of about 447 seniors, that's nearly 7% of the class. So it's not so much a trend as it is a twin takeover. And get this is not out of the ordinary. That school had 10 sets of twins in both 2014 and 2015. And the incoming class of freshmen already has 9 sets lined up for next year. Something in the water there. Some of these twins have been side by side since kindergarten. Their parents formed a twins club complete with group chats and hand-me-downs, even matching sweaters. Even more wild, 2 sets share identical first names. You've got twins Josh and twins Rebecca. So Josh and Rebecca and Rebecca. It's happening elsewhere, too. Ridgewood High School in New Jersey had 15 sets of twins graduate in 2024, but the all-time record, according to Guinness, New Trier High School in Illinois with 44 twin pairs and a set of triplets in 2017. If you're one of those teachers, God love you.
Seriously, that's
How
exactly
do you
what I
know
was thinking.
who's who in the zoo? You don't.
No.
Back on Long Island, though, most of the twins at JFK are headed to different colleges for the first time ever. Case in point, Chase and Derek Herzog, one headed to Ohio State, the other down south. Oh, no, not so far south. Miami University in Ohio, Florida. I mean, in Ohio is what I tried to say.
Florida.
Ohio, Florida.
We got there.
But not all of them are going separate ways. Chloe and Aiden Manzo are both off to the University of Florida. And yes, they are rooming together. Here's another fact check. None of them are identical twins. This set, they're all fraternal. Okay, so I guess for these teachers, they got off easy this go around. They know who's who. What matters is they have a built-in best friend from day one of class, and we all know in life's big moments, those are so much better when we share them. These graduates are heading into their next chapters together. Some apart, some side by side, but all with someone who's been there through every step from the very beginning, and that, I think, is a good lesson. You don't have to be a twin to get it. You just have to have someone who's got your back when it counts. And if you're graduating or a senior watching this, congrats to you and whomever your +1 may be.
That's sweet. I agree with you, though, on the whole teacher thing. I, taught at Brockport for 2 semesters now. And
Any twins?
No twins, but sometimes, especially within the first few weeks, if you're only seeing them 1 or 2 times a week, if one of them switches seats or they both wear the same baseball cap or they're both girls with brown hair, you're like, which one are you?
Yeah.
And it's, you feel bad.
Name tags. Make them wear name tags.
No,
next
but I
semester.
can't even get them to come to class, let alone wear a name tag.
That's true.
Yeah.
Boy.
Either way, that's absolutely crazy.
44
Yeah. it's a
in
lot.
2017. That's wild.
That is
wild.
way, I don't want to say too many, but that's like,
You're not wrong.
yeah. Wow. All right. We got to move along to my story now. A Bristol, Connecticut man who found out that chimneys aren't necessarily a great method of getting inside a building or a home. That is, of course, unless you're Santa Claus. Firefighters had to rescue this guy over the weekend because he got stuck in the chimney of a building at Rockwell Park. Now, he wasn't trying to rob anyone or he wasn't trying to be creepy and watch someone who was unaware that he was there. Police tell the Associated Press he was trying to rescue his dog who got locked in the park's bathroom. Yeah, all right, so apparently the doors locked automatically and the dog would have ended up stuck in the bathroom for the rest of the night. The man naturally panicked at the idea of his 4-legged friend being stuck in there, so he had the idea to shimmy down the chimney and rescue the pup, kind of like Mission Impossible or some other action movie like that. Unfortunately, this guy was not Tom Cruise and cannot do his own stunts. Police say the bathrooms are on an automatic timer, so they shut down every single night exactly at 10 o'clock. we've got some questions here. Why was the dog in the bathroom alone? How long was the man stuck in the chimney? Unfortunately, we don't know the answers to those questions.
Sparky said he had to go.
You know, the good news is Sparky, whatever the dog's name, is doing just fine. As for this guy, he was fine. He wasn't hurt. Probably his ego was hurt a little bit. But the chimney had to be ripped apart to get him out safely. That is how stuck he was. The cost of all this, between $5,000 and $10,000 in damage, which he will certainly have to foot the bill for. He's facing burglary, trespassing, and criminal mischief charges. He's expected back in court in July and is out on bond right now. Police say this could have been a lot worse. It also could have been easily resolved if he had just called for help. Apparently, Parks crews could have gotten those doors open with an emergency button. I understand that when bad things happen, it is pretty easy to panic. But for me, I feel like going down the chimney would be the last resort here. And Ashley, if we could pull up the picture of the building, just real quick, if we could pull it up again, I feel like there could have been another avenue, perhaps a window?
A window?
You see the light coming in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't enter down the chimney. That is just my hot take of the day.
How are you getting on the roof? You got a ladder to get on the roof?
I don't know. Like I said, Mission Impossible type deal. But I would do anything for my sweet girl Jay.
Sure.
But I think I would find a different way of
well, because you have to take into account, like, okay, am I going to live to see the dog be rescued?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're climbing down a chimney, not smart. Listen, there are some guys out there who refuse to ask for directions when they're lost, and I feel like this is one of those people. He just lost his way to, I don't know, the emergency call button to get police out there and say, hey, I need help, and said, I can figure this out on my own. Put the map down.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah.
Through the chimney we go.
Certainly not great. Not ideal. Big bill. And now...
And the charges.
We're talking about it all the way here in Rochester, New York.
The charges, burglary charges.
Yeah.
I feel like they should drop the charges. I mean...
He was just trying to get to Fido.
Trying to get to Fido.
That was it.
Oh, goodness. All right, 8:12 this morning. Stick around. A lot more to come here on ARC Rochester, including when we come back. We are sitting down with Rochester Mayor Malik Evans to talk more about his campaign for today's primary.
Yeah, don't forget, take us on the go wherever you are. We're streaming live right now on the 13 WHAM YouTube channel and on foxrochester.com. Stick around. ARC Rochester is back on the other side of the break.
8:16 this morning, primary day across New York State. Voters we know are heading to the polls right now to cast their ballots.
This morning, we're hearing from the three candidates vying for the Democratic ticket for City of Rochester mayor.
Yeah, earlier this morning, we heard from candidates City Councilwoman Mary Lupien and businessman Shashi Sinha. We are now joined by Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, the incumbent. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us in studio. We appreciate it.
Good morning. Good to be in studio with you.
Absolutely. I want to dive right in, and I want to go back to an incident in the city in March and talk about the action that the DOJ is now taking.
You mean me being named in the lawsuit? The United States of America versus Malik Evans as mayor in the city of Rochester?
That is exactly it, taking on sanctuary policies in cities across the country. How do you see this fight playing out, and what are your plans to defend the sanctuary city policies for the city you lead?
Well, our plans is we're going to defend it vigorously. Not only are we defending it vigorously in court because we think it violates the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, we think that it should be dismissed, and we are in court. We filed a motion a couple of weeks ago to dismiss this, which we see as a frivolous lawsuit. Our law has been on the books since 1986, and it only says that the federal government cannot commandeer local resources. Which is consistent with the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Now, in addition to that, we have also joined another suit, United States of America versus San Francisco. We've joined that suit. So we're used to this. We're used to tangling with the federal government. We think that we are on the right side of history because the Constitution is clear. While they can enforce their laws, we don't tell them how to run their military or any of those things, so they cannot tell us how to use our police department or any of our local resources.
Fair enough.
Some may say that it is just taking away from some of the other problems that are happening in the city right now. This has become a very big focal point, right? A lot of attention on this, but we still have crime. We still have problems with youth. You think of the Kia boys, right? There are still other issues directly affecting the people of Rochester while this whole other lawsuit is going on.
Yeah, the city has multiple lawsuits going on at a time. The city can have hundreds of lawsuits going on at the same time. And in a city, when you run a city, you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So we've made sure that has not distracted from the important work that we've had to do, particularly around economic empowerment. That's why we're launching our children's savings account that's coming up in September. It's why we have our Buy the Block program, in which we are getting people into home ownership. And we've been able to build close to 4,000 affordable housing units since 2022. So while the federal government is going to do its thing, and since January 20th, we have been distracted, but this is not our first lawsuit against the federal government. We filed a lawsuit in February against the National Institutes of Health for them trying to cut funding to the University of Rochester, which would have resulted in a layoff of thousands of employees. So for us and anyone that understands cities understands that there's always lawsuits going on. We have a huge corporation department, but this one gets a lot of attention because it's the first time that the federal government has sued a city, and particularly a medium city our size. So we have said that we're going to fight back, and that is what we are doing. But this is something that we're going to do because we're the city of Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony. And we believe that we are on the right side of history, and I believe that we will prevail in court as it relates to the actions of the federal government.
I'm glad you brought up Buy the Block because I do want to talk about some of the housing initiatives from your first term in office. Some of your critics argue, or your opponents argue, that these programs benefit developers more than they do residents in the city of Rochester. Any plans, if so, to recalibrate any of the initiatives that are currently in play? Well,
I think first off, the premise of the question is totally false and wrong. And if they were, if they understood the neighborhoods in which they went into, they wouldn't make that statement. We just had a huge Buy the Block ribbon cutting. This station covered it on Friday, and we had several folks who benefited from the Buy the Block program. I think also Buy the Block is part of an overall larger housing strategy that we have. And in addition to home ownership, we also have 4,000 new affordable and market rate housing units that we have built. So we will continue to build. Rochester is recognized in the state as a leader in housing. We're designated a pro-housing community. You can go right now on the New York State Homes and Community Renewal website and see Rochester highlighted as a place that is building housing. I think that during political times, you will always have people who claim not to be politicians make spurious claims, and any of the claims made about Buy the Block are spurious. What we were doing was making sure that we were greenlining neighborhoods. We were building homes in places where homes did not exist before as a result of redlining. So we built homes on Superior Street, on Dr. Samuel McCree Way, on Thomas Street. These are all areas of the city that had seen disinvestment for 50 years. And one of the individuals making that claim, he probably doesn't know the difference between Superior Street and Lake Superior. And I think that if he did more research and understood the overall housing strategy in the city, he wouldn't be making those claims in terms of it benefiting developers, whichever candidate might have done that.
All right, Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, we have about 30 seconds left. Curious to know, if you are reelected, what do you hope the city will look like?
I mean, I think if we go forward, we want to make sure that we continue to focus on building our city that is prosperous and equitable for all residents. We've had success in housing, we've had success in economic development, reduction in violent crime, and we want to make sure that we continue to do that going into the next term. And we want to encourage everyone to go out and vote. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I know that we can be victorious, not just for me, but for the city of Rochester into the future.
Incumbent Democrat, Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Time right now, 8:21. When we come back, we'll check in with Chris Lopez, who's out at the polls this morning, talking with voters as they cast their ballots.
Certainly is. ARC Rochester is back on the other side of the break.
All right, voters are at the polls this morning casting their ballots for New York's primary election.
They certainly are. One of the most closely watched races is that. We've been talking about it all morning for Rochester mayor. Two Democratic challengers are hoping to unseat incumbent Malik Evans on the ballot.
Chris Lopez is live this morning at East High School. Voters are rolling in already. And Chris, you've had the opportunity to speak to some of them.
Yeah, guys, so we've been speaking to voters coming in and out throughout the morning, really pressing them on these new voting machines that are in use here for the year 2025. And we've been asking them how easy is it to use them. And pretty much everyone has seamlessly said it's been incredibly easy. They've been in and out in a few minutes. If they've had any questions, poll workers are there to answer those questions. There's tutorials online on monroecounty.gov as well. But overall, the sentiment with these new voting machines is that they are incredibly easy to use. use, and they would prefer these voting machines over the paper ballot. Monroe County spent about $12 million on these. They bought about 1,000 to disperse throughout the county for primary days like these, as well as early voting over those past 9 days. But we spoke to a few, and one of them said pretty much if you can read that you can use these voting machines. I asked her, what if someone is not technology proficient? And she said, if you can read, once again, if you can read, you can use these. Here's her right now. Go ahead and take a listen.
I'll just say this, if you can read, you can do it. It's very simple. And I use a computer all day, so that, that makes it more simple for me.
And we've come into question with the security of these systems. A lot of people, when it comes to voting and putting their vote in the hands of technology, some people may be skeptical when it comes to the security, but these things are really put through the ringer when it comes to making sure that they're optimum and they're ready to go to good use and they're not easily hackable. They get put through federal measures as well as state measures, and then here in Monroe County, they actually used a few students from the cybersecurity program at RIT. These systems here were put through a 10-day test to see if there was any security holes in there, if they can essentially hack into it and change the vote. And throughout those 10 days, those students could not find anything that they could, that they really could deem hackable, really, that someone could change their vote once it was casted. So really, these are as safe as you can get. I'm gonna send it back to you guys in studio for now, guys.
All right, Mr. Lopez out there live for us all morning long. We hope you're at least sitting down in an air-conditioned car in between these hits, Chris.
Yeah, back in the car each and every half hour, cooling down.
All right, sounds good.
Much more to get to this morning on ARC Rochester.
We're back right after this. Good Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for sticking with us here on ARC Rochester. Meteorologist Mark McLean is with us now. We are talking about 90-degree temperatures.
Yeah.
We're also talking about his weather trivia question, but 90-degree temperatures, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, does it get to you after a little while, or is, everybody has a different weather experience, right?
See, for me, I would rather be outside in the humidity and in the heat than in here where it's humid and cold.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't use a lot of air conditioning. I'm a windows down person. Okay. And at home, it's got to be above 80 before it really starts to bother me.
So is the AC on at home?
Oh, yeah, the last couple of days, the afternoons were just brutal. I mean, it was 93, 94 on the home thermometer yesterday. That's too much with that breeze that was coming through, too. So it's just pushing and channeling the air into the house. But probably a good way to go with the weather trivia today. How many days in Rochester's hottest summer, how many days did it reach 90 degrees or higher? And your choices are 10 days, 32 days, 20 days, or 25 days.
Boom, got it.
You know?
Yeah. Dan's been paying attention.
I think I know too.
Yeah. It's an astounding number,
Is it?
I would say, because the average we did yesterday, right?
Yep.
What was
2
the
days ago.
average?
2 days ago. Was it 9 days in an average
Yep.
season will hit 90. So today will actually be 3 when we get to this afternoon. And likely also the warmest, probably 93, 94 we're thinking for the high today. So yesterday was 92. The day before that reached 90. So.
You were talking earlier, though, about potential warm-up as we make our way, warm-up,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, next week, because I think the last day on the 7-day is 89.
Yeah.
What are the chances we could see, 90 plus?
It's possible to get another couple of days early next week into that range. And it's a cumulative effect, too, because the warmer it gets, the drier it gets. I mean, we had a bunch of rain last week, so we're good. We're good on the rainfall. But, you get 2, 3, 4 days in a row without rain, and all of a sudden the evaporation is less from the ground, so that allows the air to get warmer and warmer. And, if we don't get rain here for another couple of days, it makes it easier for those subsequent days to actually get back to 90 degrees this time of the year. So.
Boy, oh boy.
Feeds back on itself. Near record warmth is what I was talking about, looking at my graphics over there. Forecast high, 94. The record was set back in 1949 today, and that's 96 degrees. So, we did have a day that was even warmer than this, although this will probably be the top 3 for June 24th for sure. The heat advisory, that's going to continue through 6 o'clock this evening. That heat index, once again, in that range of 100 to 105. So whatever routine that you used the last couple of days, just go back to that routine again. Find the air conditioning, find the pool, sunscreen if you're outside for any length of time, and temps on the rise here. 82, but that dew point has jumped up to 71. That was sitting in the upper 60s for most of the morning. That has now reached 71. So that's a point where you really start to feel the atmospheric moisture content. Satellite radar, believe it or not, Boston may actually reach 100 degrees for the actual air temperature today, as this ridge of high pressure gives us one more day of heat before this cold front gives us some changes. So usually when we have near record warmth, you get some big change in the weather. This is not going to be a huge change. This front doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with. There's a very small chance of a pop-up shower late this evening, but most of us are going to miss out on that, and that rain chance for Wednesday as well. So keep it cool. We'll see that number reach the low to mid 90s and drop back through the 80s slowly this evening. That breeze out of the west, you'll notice that. Low 70s tonight, so not quite as warm tonight. We got down to 76, I believe, was the overnight low temperature. 71 for tonight, warm and humid night for sure. And the extended forecast, some showers by Thursday, Friday. Looks like some scattered thunder showers into Saturday as well. And as you were mentioning, Dan, back to near 90 early next week. We'll see just how warm it gets as we move through time.
Tropical, scattered showers.
Yeah.
Lots of terms on
Florida
that,
air.
Yeah.
Spent a couple of summers in Florida. It's every day is the same.
You always say that.
Yeah.
Like what? You just popped down there for fun?
Went down to the grandparents. Went down for the Tampa.
Oh, that's
Tampa.
right. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see. I don't know why I thought you meant while you were here working. You're just I'm going to take off.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, you just remember everything is exactly the same. You can almost set your watch to a thunderstorm at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. But in this case, for us, it's a different type of heat. Down there, it's the peninsula creating it.
Okay, here's the question. Because we're seeing some extreme temperatures, I want to know how many stories across Western New York or upstate New York do you think tomorrow we will see of we baked cookies in the car, we fried an egg on the sunroof.
We tried that last year. We did try that last year.
I was just talking about that, I think on Friday. I don't think
Oh, yeah?
you were here for it. Yeah. That was my weather trivia question for Mark. I said, 1 year ago today, what were we doing feature-wise?
Amazing.
And we were baking cookies in one of the news
I think years ago we tried the eggs too, and I think we had partial success with that, the white part kinda.
Yeah.
But not the
I
yolk.
feel like on a day like today with the blacktop, you get some T-fal out there, you stick it in that new parking lot.
Yeah, the new
It's
parking
gonna
lot.
soak up that heat and really do
surface
something.
temperatures can get up 140, low 140. So you got to watch the pets too. You know, the paws.
Yep.
Yeah, not a great idea to be out there between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Those pavement temperatures can really jump up there.
Yeah, very true. And kids too.
Yeah,
you
oh,
know,
for sure.
like kids like to play outside.
Yeah.
They like to go, but I feel like after a while it's, let's go inside, it's cool
Yeah.
down, sprinkler,
And
whatever.
it can be something as trivial as just walking to the mailbox,
Yeah.
and maybe you're used to just running out there in bare feet, and in a mere matter of
Okay.
seconds, you could get some burns.
Yeah.
It's true.
Watch the pads on those paws.
That's right.
Check the back seat.
Yep.
Get that sunscreen in that water.
Yeah. You guys all know this.
All the heat reminders.
Yep. Come on.
Yeah.
This is not your first time experience.
No.
No,
90
definitely.
degrees.
But with even with winters, people forget how to drive in the snow.
Yeah?
And we forget some of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't regret it.
Find a pool.
That's actually the number one.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
number one.
Yep.
All right, McLean. Thank
Yep.
you.
Much more to get to this morning on ARC Rochester, including when we come back, we'll check in again with Chris Lopez, who's getting everybody ready for primary day.
And don't forget, you can watch us on the go wherever you are. ARC Rochester is streaming live right now on the 13 WHAM YouTube channel. Stick around. We are back after this.
Time right now is 8:39. As you get ready to head out the door this morning, don't forget it is primary day. You can go cast your vote until 9 o'clock tonight to make your voice heard.
Yeah, one of the most closely watched races this go around. That of Rochester mayor. You've got two Democratic challengers hoping to unseat incumbent Rochester Mayor Malik Evans. Chris Lopez is live this morning at East High School. He has been talking to voters all morning long. Those polls now open for just about 3 hours. Chris, what are people saying?
Yeah, I've been really pressing people on what they think about the new voting machines. I've been asking them some other questions, but I really want to know what they're getting, the feeling that they're getting when they come out of there after they've casted their vote. And pretty much it's very unanimous with a few hiccups here and there. Everyone really likes the new voting machines. They think that it's pretty easy to use. They're in and out in a few minutes. I've heard as fast as 20, 30 seconds people have casted their vote. If people have had any problems, when I spoke to a poll worker just now, they're there to help you. If you have any questions, they're there to help you, walk you through it. If you're not tech savvy, the poll workers haven't had any hiccups in there at all. And really the ease of use of these new voting systems is really what people like. And we spoke to a lady earlier that really talked about that. Here, take a listen.
I thought it was pretty easy. That's pretty clear. You've got the screen up there, tells you what to do, and if you don't pick as many as they say to pick, it sends you back, which is good because I didn't realize I had 5 choices instead of 4.
Yeah, and these are expected to really save the county a lot of money. The county estimates that about $250,000 is what they're going to save in just paper alone. Now, keep in mind, there is still a paper ballot because that's how they audit this. So there's still a little sliver of paper. I was told it feels more like a card than it does a traditional piece of paper. But that's really for the paper trail, just in case they need to go in and recount the votes or really look at something else. And then if people have any questions about security when it comes to technology in voting, these are put through the ringer when it comes to that, both federal and state, as well as at the local level. Here in Monroe County, for instance, they put these machines through a test that students at RIT conducted. They were cybersecurity students. They put it through a 10-day test, really tried to hack into it and figure out if there was anything that they could cause havoc in, really change other people's votes, things like that. But after those 10 days were up, they could not find any case in a real-world circumstance where those votes could get changed or anyone could tamper with the system. And that's based on how the system is made, the fabric of the system, and really the encryption that goes into these new voting machines. Guys, I'm going to send it back to you in studio for now.
All right, Chris, it's looking like it's picking up out there as more people go and get ready to cast their ballot. So thanks. We appreciate the report.
Thank you, sir. Hey, don't go anywhere. When Arc Rochester returns, we're taking a look at some of the stories that have people yapping it up today.
Yeah, we're back after this.
It's time to see what's trending this morning. We're starting with a tattoo that's being described as nightmare fuel.
Yeah, one Cairo-based tattoo artist is getting a little bit of hate online for a piece that he did, presumably intended to be a portrait of the client's daughter.
Yeah, however, commenters saw the final product and said it resembled a bunch of different things. Oh my God.
Oh no. Okay. Some of the things people have compared the tattoo to include Gollum from Lord of the Rings, a demon, various animals, and the fictitious ogre, Shrek.
Goal. The video struck a nerve with a lot of people, being shared over 31 million times with thousands of comments, almost every single one of them negative.
Some users speculated that maybe the tattoo wasn't that bad and the baby maybe just looked like that. That's just mean.
Oh, man. After a number of comments, the artist shared a reference photo. Okay, yeah, that's a cute baby.
That's an adorable baby.
Unfortunately, the commenters found the tattoo even more outrageous after seeing the original portrait of the baby. Despite the hate, the artist continues to post his pieces and doesn't seem to take the comments to heart. However, you at home or anyone going to Cairo to get a tattoo should take those comments to heart.
That is wild.
Consider maybe looking to book somewhere else.
Listen, it is not easy, okay? Tattoo artists, their job is very, very difficult.
Sure.
Being an artist that works for other people is incredibly hard. Whether
Yes.
it's graphic design or photography or anything like that, right? With that, though, my question would be, was this a tattoo artist that specialized in face tattoos?
I don't think so.
You know,
I've done faces before.
Okay.
He has.
Yeah.
How did those turn out?
They definitely have a similar style.
Okay.
I just think it's him, you know? Like, he posts them and he is, you know, very...
How much does he charge?
No, I can't tell you that.
Are they free?
Nope, they're paid.
Can you imagine if that's you and you grow up and that's the tattoo your dad got of you?
It's just...
I'd have some issues. I really would.
Well, and let's face it, it all comes down to shadowing.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Should have been black and white.
That is black and white, I think, Mark.
No, I mean, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. That hair, like, I feel sorry for this man. Both the tattoo artist and the guy who got that tattoo.
It's rough.
That's
also really, really
listen,
rough.
You know, there are lots of places that offer laser removal.
Or a cover-up.
Yes.
You know?
Turn it into a big rose.
Turn it into Shrek.
Or eagles.
Commit
I
to
don't
the
know.
bit.
Yeah, honestly.
I don't know. Either way, we got to move along now to a service that's seeing a big boom in business.
Although the profession is described as age-old, matchmakers are growing in popularity.
According to the founder of Bonnie Winston Matchmaker, the service is growing exponentially. Services can range in price, but for the popular ones that show promise, they charge clients as much as $150,000 for services.
If it doesn't show promise, why am I going?
I don't know.
I'm only going for promise. One company founder says a lot of clients are billionaires and multi-millionaires. Well, hello there. They have success in all areas of life except love and don't want to be alone. Let me stop you right there. I'm available, especially if you have $1 billion. Well, listen, I'll settle for multi-millionaire.
Listen, here's the thing, though. If you're a multi-millionaire or a billionaire and you're like, I'm great, except I can't find love, I feel like maybe some, like, reflection.
Self-reflection?
Like, it's probably necessary.
You're probably right, but listen, I can look past a lot of things.
Okay,
With the
all
right
right.
bank account.
Well, dating services, which include both apps and old-fashioned matchmakers, have exploded in just the past couple years. They are projected to reach revenues of $13.4 billion by the year 2030.
Meantime, traditional apps are dominate the market, such as Hinge and Tinder, all experiencing a bit of decline.
Professional matchmakers say that now, in a post-pandemic world, people are looking for a way to boost their socialization skills so they can find love outside of apps.
Listen, you do what you got to do. Whether it's a matchmaker, an app, a blind date that a friend, set up, go for it. Why not? What's the worst thing that happens?
You're out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a match, and then you're broke.
Listen, if you can afford to pay $150,000 for a matchmaker, something tells me you have a lot more than that just sitting there, making money for you, making interest on the daily. Just a thought. But again, if you're available. Let's move on to a fairy tale breakfast costing nearly $1,000.
Okay, so we've talked about it before. The price of Disney, ridiculous. But one father recently took to social media to talk about how one breakfast came with a nearly four-figure price tag.
In a tweet, the father shared a picture of his receipt for the princess breakfast, racking up a grand total of $937.65, which did include a $150 tip.
The breakfast, Mark's having a heart attack. The breakfast was part of Disney's Grand Californian Hotel. The dining experience, that is, included a 3-course meal and activities with Disney princesses.
The meal includes appetizers like lobster rolls, cornbread, and baguettes. Oh, beignets.
I'm sure there are baguettes involved, too. Main courses include chicken and Mickey Mouse-shaped waffles, macaroni and cheese, braised short ribs, deviled eggs, and truffle macaroni and cheese.
And then for dessert, cream puffs or sorbet. The price starts at $142 for adults and children ages 3 to 9. The family of 5 rated the meal a 7 out of 10.
And they say while it wasn't the best, the father did say it was worth it for his kids. Ashley wrote in the prompter, would you pay that much for an experience? Not a chance.
No. Here's the thing. Would I pay that much for an experience for myself and other adults? 100%. For children? No. I'm not paying $142 so they can taste macaroni and cheese with truffle. Because guess what? They don't have a palate that's going to understand it. And they don't want that. They want chicken nuggets, they want ice cream, they want a churro, and they want to go ride, whatever mountain one more time.
Yeah.
That's silly.
It is. Yeah.
That's like paying all that money to go. Can't you dine in one of the castles, like in the top?
Sure.
Or you can spend the night there.
I don't think you even want to know how much that is.
Well, I don't, because it's silly that I think anyone would ever spend that on children when, listen, they're not going to remember it either.
I also think that they don't understand price.
Not
the
at all.
cost of things. If you're like, oh man, we're going to go to this really fancy dinner, the kids are going to be like, okay.
Yeah. They don't want to put on those itchy, tight clothes with a tie and, no.
Yeah, they just want to go have fun.
Exactly.
I don't know. Listen, do what you want for your kids, but I feel like if you're going and you're making the fancy reservations, it's not going to be a surprise when you get this insane bill and then you're going to post it on social media saying like, oh, I can't believe it was this much.
Yeah.
Like, you could look at the menu
$542 ahead.
In this day and age, who doesn't look at the menu before they go to a restaurant?
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. Listen, whatever. Maybe
Man.
we're just jealous. Next time, don't waste the money on the kids. Take us.
Yeah. I can't tell you the last time I went to Disney.
Me either.
I think I was like 14.
Wonder if they have
For
vegan
school?
options.
They definitely do.
They have to. Hey, stick around. We've got a lot more to come right here on ARC Rochester.
We're back after this. this morning on ARC Rochester. As we continue into the 9 o'clock hour, Stephanie Joseph will break down some of our top political stories.
Yeah, she joins us now with a preview of what we can expect at 9. Hey there, Steph.
Hey there, guys. In today's Political Pulse, we're tracking new developments between Israel and Iran as a tentative ceasefire hangs in the balance. President Trump says both countries violated the agreement, but a ceasefire remains in effect. I speak to an expert to break this all down. That's coming up in our 9 o'clock hour. ARC Rochester returns after this.
Welcome back. Did you know that we're on ARC Rochester right now? Did you
Is that Fox Rochester?
It is,
9
believe it or
o'clock.
not.
Wow, is
yeah,
it?
9 o'clock.
On June 24th?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot to get to coming up in the next hour. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Abby Ferdman.
And I'm Dan Schrack. The forgetful one is meteorologist Mark McLean.
I made it.
He might be able to get a forecast out to us in just a little bit and give us the answer to his weather trivia question of the day. We will, though, check in with Stephanie Joseph first with your ARC Rochester news break.
Here are some of the top local stories that we're following this Tuesday morning. Another day of oppressive temperatures officially making this a heat wave. With the heat index pushing dangerous levels, several schools are sending students home early or closing altogether. This as many districts wrap up their last week of the academic year. We've posted a full list of those changes on 13wham.com. It is primary day in New York State, and the polls are open. Among the races we're following today, the Democratic primary for Rochester mayor. This morning, we spoke to all three of the candidates vying for their name to be on the ticket. You can watch those in full on our website and coming up right here on ARC Rochester in our next half hour. The future of a tentative ceasefire between Israel and Iran remains unclear. President Trump telling reporters this morning that both parties violated the agreement and that he's not happy with Israel. Israel's defense minister first accused Iran of violating the deal by launching missiles shortly after the ceasefire went into effect. Iran denies that. Trump claims the ceasefire is still in effect. There may be new businesses coming to upstate New York. A zero-emission nuclear power plant is in the works. Governor Kathy Hochul did not say exactly where this would be built or what the cost would be, but she says the state needs power grids that are affordable, reliable, and safe while attracting large manufacturers to the area. New York currently has 3 active nuclear plants, and the last plant built in the state was at 9 Mile Point in Oswego. For all these top stories and any updates, be sure to visit 13wham.com. Back to you guys.
All right, Steph, thank you. Let's get a look at the hot and soupy conditions out there this morning. Have not left the studio yet, but...
I was outside checking on progress, watering plants.
Yeah?
It's hot.
Yeah. Newsflash.
Yeah. I mean, the dew point, anytime the dew point's in the 70s, you can really, I mean, the clothing just starts sticking to you immediately. Just one of those days. And we're talking about 90-degree warmth in the forecast. We're talking about it for trivia. And wondering how many days could Rochester reach 90 in a season? Was it 10 days, 32 days, 20 days, or 25 days?
My answer, B, 32.
And we've got answers that are all over the place here. Cheryl says A, Pamela says D, Dennis has B, Mary Jane, Sue, and Nancy all went C for today's trivia. We've got a couple of more, lots of
really
guesses
all
today.
over the place,
Well,
and
some
lots of
may,
people weighing in.
They may know. Some people may know. What about Instagram? 100% on A on Instagram, and we've got Wayne said B, Diane said C, Rod B, Janet D, Dan A. What do you say?
Can I see the options one more time?
One more time, the options menu. 10, 32, 20, or 25?
I'm going to go C. I am, because you talked about the average, so I'm feeling pretty good about that.
We did have a summer recently that had 20 days. It was like late 20 teens, 18 or 19. One of those summers was pretty hot, but not as hot as the summer of 1953.
What?
We had
Oh my
30.
gosh.
Can you imagine an entire month of 90-degree warmth?
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, if you have the pool, if you have a way to stay cool, you know, you're in good shape. But that was back in 1953, 32 days.
Not a lot of people had pools. Not a lot of people, if any, had air conditioning.
Oh, very few.
What was the growing season like that year?
You know, sometimes that can be weird on either end of it. Just because there was heat in the middle of the season doesn't necessarily correlate to, you know, growing out the growing season. But I think for that, the answer is over 200 for our longest growing season. I would have to take a look. I've got a number in the back of my head, but I don't know if we used it for weather. We did use it for weather trivia.
I think we did.
I think it was 216.
Yeah.
I think that was the number. So it was a pretty big number.
Impressive.
Check out this. It's our Sandy Paw outlook for today.
Ah.
Yep. There's Flora. So
Hi, Angel.
Sunday we went up to Hamlin Beach, and there was two dogs running around, and the other doggy we didn't catch in the picture, but somebody was enjoying that 58-degree water up there. Look at the paws right there in the sand. But not worried about the rain today or tomorrow, really. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there's a chance, especially into Friday and Saturday, that we get some sandy paws. If you're up there at the beach, maybe you're on Ontario Beach or out towards areas east of Rochester, Durand, Eastman Beach would be a good place to go today. 2 days of 90, and today's going to make it 3. Last year it was 8, and there's where Dan got the answer from right there.
Boom.
Did you get it right?
Yeah.
He did. He was watching this earlier.
Oh.
He was watching this graphic earlier. I had it on the air. But yeah, 84 for right now. The dew point's at 71, and that's really the number that you feel. When that dew point hits the 70s, you know, the atmospheric moisture content packaged together with that temperature is going to make it feel like it's around 100 this afternoon. Did you step out yesterday afternoon and feel that heat?
I mean, it was like a smack in the face with a frying pan.
It was.
It really is.
Really hot one.
It really was. It was like with the breeze gusting between 20 and 30 miles per hour, it really was like forcing the hot air around you. But that breeze was also nice down at the Jazz Fest, by the way. I mean, it was what saved it for us. But satellite radar, high pressure to the south, the west-southwest flow around that high. That's going to promote one more day of warmth, and there's a cold front that's going to be trying to make its way through. So we'll get a few more clouds, and there's that small chance of a shower late this evening. I think most of us are going to miss out on this, unfortunately. By tomorrow, you see we start out with clouds, but by the afternoon, that cloud cover kind of thins out a little bit. We get back to some sunshine. So the forecast stays mainly dry really through probably Thursday afternoon. And if you're golfing, boy, you got to stay hydrated on one of these days, right? 86 at 10 o'clock, 92 by 1 o'clock, 91 by 5 o'clock this afternoon in a forecast that really is going to feel more like Tampa, Florida. 71 overnight, isolated thunder shower. That is a warm and humid night. In fact, Buffalo last night set their record warmest minimum temperature for the date for June 23rd. I think it came in at 73. Ours was close. The extended forecast, not as hot. Back to the mid-80s for Wednesday, upper 70s, a little cooler yet for Thursday. But some of that heat starts building back in. We'll have to watch for the small chance of a strong thunderstorm there Friday as the atmosphere gets a little bit more unstable at that point. We'll fine-tune that as we get closer. But next week, could we be back to near 90 again? Sure, it's a possibility. And we still have a long distance to run. Summer just started.
Yeah.
So we've hit 90 degrees as late as October. So this season can keep going and going.
Halloween was so hot this year. Oh,
yeah, it
my
was.
gosh. So full disclosure, we already started planning Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, we got together with our friends over the weekend and we sat down to lunch and we were like, all right, so it's time to talk about it.
What are we building?
And, well, it's a surprise, so can't really talk about it just yet. But one of the things we're taking into consideration is if it's not going to be as nice as it was this past year.
Yeah.
We had a lot of luck last year.
It was great. It was 80 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, that was wild. Yep.
Yep.
It was good
Costume
stuff.
was too hot.
Too hot.
Melting off on my zombie makeup.
Yeah, that night was warm.
I'm sorry. It's June,
Yeah,
and you're planning Halloween.
absolutely. When do you start your Christmas shopping?
December.
Not in June.
You start thinking about it, though. You're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, listen, it's an investment. We got to tuck some money away. I'm just waiting for Spirit Halloween to open up, be first in line, just like last year.
Goodness.
Were you really?
9:09.
You were?
Yeah, it wasn't open yet. The website said that it was opening at a certain time, and it wasn't. And I went
Gotcha.
on the doors, and I was like,
That's amazing.
I might camp outside the store. Director Chris just asked.
Oh, wow.
We'll have to wait and see.
Okay.
Stick around. We've got a lot more to come.
I don't know
right
why
here.
nobody likes me here. Anyway, when we come back, we're pouring ourselves a drink because that's definitely what we need. Looking ahead to an exciting event that's coming up.
And don't forget, you can watch us on the go wherever you are. Arc Rochester is streaming live right now on the 13 WHAM YouTube channel and foxrochester.com. Stick around. We're back after this. time to raise a glass and toast to an upcoming event that's happening this weekend.
Yeah, Vino Noir is hosting a tasting at Rock Arts Event Space on Tremont Street, and it celebrates and highlights African-American winemakers.
CEO of Top Notch Strategies and Vino Noir Group, partner Tracy Isaacs joins us now in studio with more about these winemakers. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and good morning to you both.
Thank you. So let's dive right in. We are very fortunate in this part of the state to be blessed with some great grapes and plenty of winemakers. Talk to us about Vino Noir.
Vino Noir is a group that came together for their love of wine and interest of learning more about it. And what we discovered as friends first, that there was just so many facets that not only work with our lifestyles, but piqued our interest, and we found opportunities to help others. So we thought it would be great to help new winemakers who, one, transferred out of their traditional careers into winemaking.
That is, I feel like kind of paving the way for others, right?
Yes, yes. You know, many of them were never really interested in how the wine was made until they realized that their interest grew. And also, they've created jobs and found philanthropic ways to utilize their resources.
Absolutely love that. They're not only creating jobs for themselves, but other members of the community, correct?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they're hailing from across America. This year, we're hosting 3 winemakers who have a really interesting career. We have a businesswoman. Her name is Gwen Hurt. Her company is called Shoe Crazy. During COVID, many people decided, hey, you know what, I think I like wine. And she realized she really liked wine.
What's not to like, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And her daughter helped her create the name. She says, Mom, why don't you name it something that you're passionate about? And she said, shoes. But here's the other piece. She says, I'd like to buy shoes for children in Africa. So her proceeds go to not only a business, but also helping others across the country and the world.
Wow, that is
incredible.
Yeah, that's really, really lovely.
Yes.
And it seems like a lot of these businesses have family ties to them, which I imagine is, it says a lot about the people that are running them.
Yes, it does. We have another person who is a wonderful, now wine expert. His name is Louis Garcia. He created a company called Stover Oaks. Again, he was an accountant and in the financial services who decided he wanted to learn more about the business side. And he created Stover Oaks, but after working for several other companies. And then he decided he wanted to make the barrels that the wines come in. So he created 2 new businesses.
Oh, that's incredible. So now you're dealing with both facets,
Yes.
facets of the company.
Yes.
And there's a third one, correct?
Yes, there is.
What's that one?
It's called GV23. It was founded by Greg Vaughn, a 4-time All-Star Major League Baseball player who's now retired. And he decided that he wanted to do something to bring awareness to diabetes. So out of his resources of GV23 Wines, he is now funding a foundation called Vaughn Valley Foundation. They do research to help bring awareness and possibly a cure to type 1 diabetes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So the event this weekend, it's going to be a great one.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We will host them. People will be able to also learn about food pairing. So there is a wonderful, sumptuous buffet. There will be other mixologists, sommeliers to help teach you about your wines and what you like or what things you should steer towards. And it's just open, as well as you can get tickets to the event because we want ticket entrance by going online. We have a QR code that'll take you right to the information and the time. It's Saturday, June 28th from 5 to 9 p.m. So just enough to wind down from the Jazz Fest.
Yeah. If someone doesn't buy tickets in advance and they say, ooh, it's going to be a game day kind of decision, can they buy them at the door?
Yes, we're digitally operated, so the QR code will take you right to the entrance, and we'll see you there.
Very
Perfect.
good. Tracy Isaac, thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it, and we'll put all of the event information over on foxrochester.com so you can get your tickets and enjoy.
9:17, stick around. When Arc Rochester returns, Stephanie Joseph will be breaking down some of our top political headlines.
The Political Pulse is coming up next.
time for a political pulse check here on ARC Rochester. The foundation of a tentative ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran is unsteady at this hour. A White House official says Trump spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu en route to the NATO summit. Netanyahu's office says Israel held off on more attacks after that call. Israel accused Iran of violating the truce after launching strikes early this morning, but Iran denies that. The Israel Defense Forces said it would respond with force. This morning, President Trump said both countries violated the deal, but claims the ceasefire remains in effect.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either.
And for more on this developing story, I'm joined now by Professor of History, Dr. Ian Reifowitz from SUNY Empire State University. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephanie.
I kind of want to take a step back. So much has happened since we last spoke, but also this morning in general. But I'll first start with the attacks from the U.S. on Iranian nuclear facilities. Let's see if I can bring up a Truth Social post where Trump had talked about it earlier this week on Monday specifically. In that Truth Social post, he said, quote, "We couldn't have made today's deal without the talent and courage of our great B-2 pilots and all of those associated with that operation. In a certain and very ironic way, that perfect hit late in the evening brought everyone together and the deal was made." First thing I want to start off with is how divided politicians are over this, some calling this action unconstitutional. Are you able to clear it up and tell us if this is unconstitutional, the action taken by Trump over the weekend, and what to do to move forward?
Well, the Constitution states pretty clearly that Congress has to declare, has the authority, and the only authority, to declare war. Congress declares war when both houses, House and Senate, and with a 2/3 majority, declare war on another country. Now, having said that, the U.S. has not declared war officially since World War II. And as we know, the United States has fought a number of wars since then. So at the end of the day, the question is, what is the exact requirement? And B, who's going to do something about it? In the Korean War, Vietnam, the first Iraq War in '91, and the wars that followed after 9/11, Congress passed what were called authorizations of use of force. Those were not technically declarations of war, and they were passed through a majority vote in Congress. To some degree, you know, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, is it a duck? It's the same thing with a war. If we don't declare war, but we go to war, well, then have we violated the Constitution? And if so, and that was the second part, who is going to do something about it? The President of the United States going to war without congressional declaration of war, or even one of these more recent authorizations, you know, who's going to do something? Who's going to enforce the Constitution on him? The courts, Congress. Congress is not going to enforce anything, because the only way to enforce the Congress has is to impeach and remove from office. We know that's not happening, not with the Republican majority, and not even with even a Democratic majority, because you need 2/3 to remove from office. So none of those things are happening. Then the question is, well, is ordering a quick strike, three sites bomb them, have the fighters, the pilots come back home, is that a war? I mean, again, it's open to interpretation. I think the president would argue, well, I had to do this quickly. This is a one and done thing. And so I couldn't have an open vote in the Congress, because that would let the other side know that we're coming. And there is some reasonableness to that point. He did engage in a bit of a strategic ruse by talking about how he was going to take 2 weeks before deciding whether to bomb the heavily fortified sites, and then he kind of did it the next day. So, you know, I think there's so many questions, but at the end of the day, even if people think that he violated the Constitution with this attack, nothing is going to come of that thought, because who is going to enforce it?
And I'm also wondering, kind of bringing it now to modern day, one question that I had asked you was about diplomacy and whether or not it was still possible, given the recent strikes, given the attack on the U.S. base in Qatar, and then also how the ceasefire is now hanging in the balance. Do you think that diplomacy can still be one of the paths forward?
Actually, I do. It's a tricky path. Specifically, I think we're at a point now where all three sides, Israel, Iran, and the United States, can at least claim to their own people that they can save face. I think for the U.S. and Israel, it's a more obvious path to say, well, we weakened severely weakened the nuclear program, the nuclear weapons program, such as it existed in Iran. And Iran can say to its people, again, whether anybody believes this or not, but they can say to its people, listen, the biggest power in the world, the United States, joined with this other aggressive country, Israel, and they attacked us, and we're still standing. So even they can sort of present this as a face-saving exit. In terms of the attack on Qatar, on U.S. forces in Qatar, that seems pretty clearly designed by Iran as we're going to do this, but we're going to make sure it's not so serious that the U.S. can't accept it as a sort of final retaliation, right? Iran warned through channels that this attack was coming, made it clear that, it also did it in Qatar, which is an ally of Iran, as well as working with the U.S. so that would be able to be smoothed over more easily. There were no U.S. casualties. It was almost like they were saying, we got to do this, but let's make sure that it doesn't hurt you, the U.S., so bad that you can't just sort of be like, okay, this is fine, you did this to us, but we don't need to do anything more back at you because it really didn't cause any damage. It was designed as a de-escalation. And Iran did the same thing after the United States assassinated their commander, Suleiman, during the first Trump presidency. They launched some retaliatory attacks that were, again, designed almost to de-escalate by not causing too much harm. Mm-hmm. Success in diplomacy, however, requires more than a ceasefire. A ceasefire is just starting essentially, somebody, you help start a fire and then you help put it out. Great, you're back where you started from. Success requires a real deal. Long-term success requires a real deal on Iran's nuclear weapons program. We had one under President Obama that was called the JCPOA. President Trump tore that up. We now need to get to some kind of new deal. Maybe this fighting, maybe dropping those bombs will help get to a better long-term deal. That would be the diplomatic success we're all looking for.
And really quickly, we've got a little bit of time left, about 20 seconds. If you're able to just talk about, we've seen in history how working with allied partners across the world, different countries, sort of helps in achieving a mutual goal. So what role can other countries play right now in ensuring that this ceasefire stays?
Well, I think what's necessary is that Iran's proxies, and in particular, Hezbollah has basically been, severely weakened. But the Houthis still have some power. The Houthis have to stand down. If the Houthis get, I don't want to say frisky, but I can't think of another word right now, and continue with any kind of attacks, that would make it much harder to have a ceasefire.
All right. Professor Ian Reifowitz, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your perspective, as always.
Always a pleasure.
And be sure to stay with ARC Rochester for your top political headlines. We're back after this.
Good Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for staying with us here on ARC Rochester. For our final half hour today, we want to continue our discussion on this primary day, recapping some of the most watched races.
Yeah, this morning we heard from all three candidates vying for the Democratic ticket for City of Rochester mayor. Starting out early this morning with Councilwoman Mary Lupien. Take a listen to this interview.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say before we get started, I am in an airport, which is not where you'd expect to see me on primary day. I'm a single mom, and a couple of months ago, my daughter's favorite K-pop band was coming to the U.S., and we took this little trip at the end of the campaign to thank her for everything that she's stuck with me through and to give her something to look forward to. But I wanted to show up at 5 a.m. and make sure I got to share my message with the voters today.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity and agreeing to do this. I want to dive right in. One of your proposals is guaranteed basic income for some of the residents of the city of Rochester. I want to know how the city plans on covering that cost, how you plan on covering that cost, what the timeline for that would be like, and how you measure the return on investment in something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and it's very important to ask these questions about guaranteed income because many have tried to make it seem like it's pie in the sky for us to invest in our people. And often when we do programs that directly give support to our residents, the question is, well, how are you going to pay for it? But no one asks how we're going to pay for spending $200 million to take out the top of the Broad Street Bridge for the Aqueduct Reimagined project, a project that will not help our residents. We can find money in our budget. You know, I'm on city council, which approves all of the city spending, and I see us waste money all of the time on things that don't benefit our residents. But in addition to, finding money in our budget for redirecting funds that are going to other things, there's ways that we can seek out other sources of revenue and sustainable funding from, even surcharges for things, or something that's I've been really a big proponent of in Rochester, which is public banking, which would allow us to extend low interest credit to the community and then earn interest on that loan just by using our city deposits.
One thing that I am interested to hear a little bit more on is some of the guarantees that you've mentioned on your website. Guaranteed income, guaranteed housing, guaranteed youth funding, and emergency response. All of these are great sounding. Some may say that they're lofty goals. Your plan for getting all of these done in such a short amount of time, some may be wondering.
Well, when you say a short amount of time, I'm not saying that these are things that are going to be done on day one and they are going to take some time to scale up. But this is my goal. I'm putting my reputation on the line for this. And where there's a will, there's a way. And we have to imagine that it's possible to provide for our people. Again, when you see the amounts of money that we're spending on failed economic development policies that prioritize building and luxury apartments and investing in things like the convention center and the Blue Cross Arena to try to attract new residents here, new businesses, outside investment. Those are things that are not going to help our people. But the idea is that, if those things come here, that their wealth will save us. But I really reject that idea. I don't think we need saving. I think we just need to support our people. And I am going to explore all of the ways to make that happen. And, in terms of building housing or renovating housing, these are things that we can bond for and pay back over time. But that it's really important that we make sure that we are providing enough housing for our residents and using every tool in the toolbox to be able to do that. And in terms of community responders, it's the programs that really are focused on people tend to be much less expensive than some of the other interventions that we're talking about in terms of, building. Community responders are meant to supplement the police and help everyone get a response in the community. The City Council recently initiated a study of 911 calls that showed only 18% of 911 calls need a police response. And so police are spending their time on all kinds of calls that they don't want to be responding to, from a neighbor dispute to a child that doesn't want to go to school, to a wellness check, because we don't have any other response to go out. And so community responders are trained professionals that are very tailored to the individual situations that our folks are experiencing out in the community. And they're much less expensive. Right now, our police budget is $150 million and grows every year. And they overspend it every year with overtime. And so when we're able to supplement the police with community responders, we will reduce overtime. We will reduce the burden on the police plate so that they can actually focus on the things that we need and want them to respond to. And they don't have to do mandated overtime, and reduces their personal burden.
And don't go anywhere, because coming up next, we are continuing our primary day coverage, hearing from Shashi Sinha.
Yeah, don't forget, take us on the go wherever you are. We're streaming live right now on the 13 WHAM YouTube channel at foxrochester.com. We're back after this. Welcome back. Before the commercial break, we replayed our conversation with Councilwoman Mary Lupien, who is on the ballot for today's primary election.
Now we want to turn our discussion to the tech director and businessman Shashi Sinha to hear more about his platform in the run for mayor.
So let's get right into it, talking about some major topics that'll be on the minds of voters. I think one of them being safety, for example, and you've often talked about employing police in high crime areas, but also working with other professionals to sort of help with the mental health response. How do you expect that to work together?
Yeah, crime is high. We all know that. Only a couple of days ago, we had shooting. We have a lot of issues related to crime, and I have talked about when it comes to mental health issue, having co-response team, where a mental health professional goes along with the cop, depending on the kind of call, and after assessing the situation, if it's not a dangerous issue, then the mental health professional stays there, and the cop goes back into the pool to focus on the violent crime. And similar to drug issue as well. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about mental health, kind of combining multiple professionals and based on what the need is.
In your breakdown of plans on your website, you talked a little bit about establishing a better relationship between members of law enforcement and people who live in the city. And one of the things that you talked about was ending traffic stops because of broken taillights or expired stickers, things of that nature. But then you also talked a little bit about implementing devices like drones, cameras, and hotspot technology to help pick up on some of that. Are you worried that people might think that those things go hand in hand?
Well, it does go hand in hand. First, I also talk about having community policing, building trust. And when I talk about technology, drones or camera or blue light cameras, we'll have to work with the communities and other people in the government to figure out what makes sense. But we know that when you put these kind of technology in places, it helps with the crime. It brings down the crime level in those particular areas. So it definitely will help, but it needs to be a collaborative solution, working with community and churches and everybody else to figure out what will work for the community.
I want to turn now to the topic of housing. Rent, for example, being a major topic in that area. You talked about building affordable housing units, 4,000 if I'm not mistaken. How do you think that that will work while also not outpricing those that live in the city?
It is a holistic approach when I talk about 4,000 affordable housing unit for ownership. First, think about this. 3,000 vacant lots that are sitting there, we can put those many units, move 5% of population from rental unit to ownership. That is going to be a shock to the system. It's going to bring the rental prices down as well, because vacancy rate probably will go down below over 10%. So rental prices are currently very high, and that will supply and demand. It will go down. So not only it will help with the ownership, but also help with people who are renting.
We had the opportunity to speak to Councilwoman Mary Lupien earlier, like we were talking about. And one of the things we asked her was how she planned on getting so many of these. She had guarantees, but for you, so many of these plans done in a timely manner. You know, in just a couple short years, there's a lot that you have on the table here.
Yeah, as I say, we are talking about shocking the system. I'm not the one to move slow, because we have been stuck in this situation for so long. And if you try to plug one hole while three more are popping, you're not going to move anywhere. So we have to go fast. We have to go big. Can it be done? Yes, it can be. I have done that in business world. The government is moving slow. I'm going to change that.
And with everything that's going on right now, specifically with the Trump administration, we know that there is a pending lawsuit with the city right now. How do you plan to approach the challenges on the federal level as it applies to any needs from the state?
Yeah, I think we'll have to wait and see what happens. There's a lawsuit that's going on. We shouldn't have gotten into this, but here we are. As for the immigrant community, I'm one of them. So I'll be protecting our immigrant community. But when it comes to RPD, what happened is not acceptable. So we'll be looking into all of this, what comes down, what kind of funding cut we are looking at, all of that. But my goal is to grow from within. That is, become self-sustaining, bring businesses, bring more revenue in the city, and not being dependent on so much on the federal level, even though that's a big amount. But we have to work towards being self-sufficient and independent and not rely on everything for government funding and aid from the federal government and state government.
Time right now is 9:45. When we come back, we will hear from incumbent Mayor Malik Evans as he attempts to hold his place on the ticket.
We're back right after this. Welcome back. We're continuing our primary day coverage as we closely follow the three candidates vying for the Democratic ticket for the city of Rochester mayor.
Yeah, in our last hour, we spoke to incumbent Mayor Malik Evans on his campaign and how he's working toward re-election. Here again is that conversation.
Good morning. Good to be in studio with you.
Absolutely. I want to dive right in, and I want to go back to an incident in the city in March and talk about the action that the DOJ is now taking.
You mean me being named in the lawsuit? The United States of America versus
exactly
Malik Evans as mayor in the city of Rochester?
That is exactly it, taking on sanctuary policies in cities across the country. How do you see this fight playing out, and what are your plans to defend the sanctuary city policies for the city you lead?
Well, our plans is we're going to defend it vigorously. Not only are we defending it vigorously in court because we think it violates the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, we think that it should be dismissed, and we are in court. We filed a motion a couple of weeks ago to dismiss this, which we see as a frivolous lawsuit. Our law has been on the books since 1986, and it only says that the federal government cannot commandeer local resources. Which is consistent with the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Now, in addition to that, we have also joined another suit, United States of America versus San Francisco. We've joined that suit. So we're used to this. We're used to tangling with the federal government. We think that we are on the right side of history because the Constitution is clear. While they can enforce their laws, we don't tell them how to run their military or any of those things, so they cannot tell us how to use our police department or any of our local resources.
Fair enough.
Some may say that it is just taking away from some of the other problems that are happening in the city right now. This has become a very big focal point, right? A lot of attention on this, but we still have crime. We still have problems with youth. You think of the Kia boys, right? There are still other issues directly affecting the people of Rochester while this whole other lawsuit is going on.
Yeah, the city has multiple lawsuits going on at a time. The city can have hundreds of lawsuits going on at the same time. And in a city, when you run a city, you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So we've made sure that that has not distracted from the important work that we've had to do, particularly around economic empowerment. That's why we're launching our children's savings account that's coming up in September. It's why we have our Buy the Block program, in which we are getting people into home ownership. And we've been able to build close to 4,000 affordable housing units since 2022. So while the federal government is going to do its thing, and since January 20th, we have been distracted, but this is not our first lawsuit against the federal government. We filed a lawsuit in February against the National Institutes of Health for them trying to cut funding to the University of Rochester, which would have resulted in a layoff of thousands of employees. So for us and anyone that understands cities understands that there's always lawsuits going on. We have a huge corporation department, but this one gets a lot of attention because it's the first time that the federal government has sued a city, and particularly a medium city our size. So we have said that we're going to fight back, and that is what we are doing. But this is something that we're going to do because we're the city of Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony. And we believe that we are on the right side of history, and I believe that we will prevail in court as it relates to the actions of the federal government.
I'm glad you brought up Buy the Block because I do want to talk about some of the housing initiatives from your first term in office. Some of your critics argue, or your opponents argue, that these programs benefit developers more than they do residents in the city of Rochester. Any plans, if so, to recalibrate any of the initiatives that are currently in play?
Well, I think first off, the premise of the question is totally false and wrong. And if they were, if they understood the neighborhoods in which they went into, they wouldn't make that statement. We just had a huge Buy the Block ribbon cutting. This station covered it on Friday, and we had several folks who benefited from the Buy the Block program. I think also Buy the Block is part of an overall larger housing strategy that we have. And in addition to home ownership, we also have 4,000 new affordable and market rate housing units that we have built. So we will continue to build. Rochester is recognized in the state as a leader in housing. We're designated a pro-housing community. You can go right now on the New York State Homes and Community Renewal website and see Rochester highlighted as a place that is building housing. I think that during political times, you will always have people who claim not to be politicians make spurious claims, and any of the claims made about Buy the Block are spurious. What we were doing was making sure that we were greenlining neighborhoods. We were building homes in places where homes did not exist before as a result of redlining. So we build homes on Superior Street, on Dr. Samuel McCree Way, on Thomas Street. These are all areas of the city that had seen disinvestment for 50 years. And one of the individuals making that claim, he probably doesn't know the difference between Superior Street and Lake Superior. And I think that if he did more research and understood the overall housing strategy in the city, he wouldn't be making those claims in terms of it benefiting developers, whichever candidate might have done that.
All right, Rochester Mayor Malik Evans, we have about 30 seconds left. Curious to know, if you are reelected, what do you hope the city will look like?
I mean, I think if we go forward, we want to make sure that we continue to focus on building our city that is prosperous and equitable for all residents. We've had success in housing, we've had success in economic development, reduction in violent crime, and we want to make sure that we continue to do that going into the next term. And we want to encourage everyone to go out and vote. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And I know that we can be victorious, not just for me, but for the city of Rochester into the future.
With the mayoral candidates, you can watch them in full on our website, 13wham.com.
Also, be sure to stick with us throughout the day, on air and online, for any and all updates and results. Don't forget, polls are open now until 9 o'clock.
Stick around. When Arc Rochester returns, our final thoughts.
We're back after this. Time for our final thoughts of the morning on Arc Rochester. Busy day.
Lots happening.
Yeah, hot stuff. 90s for the third straight day out there.
Hot stuff.
No said.
That's heat and humidity, right?
Yeah.
Muggy.
And we're feeling it in the studio.
It is.
Yeah.
The humidity in here is
fine.
8 gabillion.
It's all right.
No, I know. I don't mind it. I don't like you pointed it out earlier. It's cold, but it's also wet in here. And that's a little gross.
Yeah.
Like, pick one and go with it.
Yeah. Pretty nasty.
We gotta talk to somebody about that.
Run
today.
with a theme.
Yeah. Either hot and humid or cold and dry. Please.
I don't know how willing they are to accept feedback. Just go in and start making a list of demands. They're gonna be like, who are you?
That's fair. That is fair. Best bits.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I feel like there was a lot of great stuff that we broke down, like a lot of big stories. The ceasefire with Iran and Israel, but also having all three Democratic candidates for mayor come in and just kind of talk about their platforms, especially on a busy day like today.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep. Happy all of them were able to chat with us a little bit. And, of course, election coverage continues.
Yeah. We will see you tomorrow. That's it.